So today I'm going to be talking about my agency, which is the Central Texas Food Bank. Behind the slide, I posted a photo of our on-site location, which is located in South Austin, around 2 or 3 miles away from the Austin Bergstrom Airport, if that gives anybody any reference. Okay, let's get started. So first off, we're going to talk about, it's a food bank. So obviously the problem that we're addressing is food insecurity. And for my agency paper, I actually got in touch with the director of data and analytics, who I'll refer to as Mrs. James. And after my interview with Mrs. James, we kind of narrowed it down to 3 main contributors for food insecurity in our region. So the first one is a high cost of living. And I looked up the average cost of rent in Cedar Park, which is where I live. And it's pretty accurate because it's like the exact amount of my rent, which is $1,760. And after doing some research, I found that rent should not extend beyond 30% of an individual's income. And if you do the math, that means that the average salary of one individual living in Cedar Park, Texas, should be around $60,000. I can speak from personal experience. I have a full-time job, and obviously I don't have a degree yet, but I make around $40,000 a year. So, if I had a child, I know that would be extremely difficult to take care of myself, let alone take care of me with another person to depend on me. So that pretty much puts into perspective like how difficult it would be. And another one is programs like SNAP or WIC, or government assisted programs to help out with groceries for families. But they are extremely difficult to apply for, and a lot of the times the supplies don't last until the end of the month. And the last cause that we kind of came down to was a lack of transportation. And Mrs. James let me know that 440,000 of our neighbors live in low income, low access areas. And then 5% of our clients do not have a personal vehicle. So this creates food deserts, which means that there is not an affordable grocery store within range that they have access to. So that creates a lot of problems. All right. Next up, we have our clients. So according to the Central Texas Food Bank website, 34% of our clients are children or teenagers. 64% of clients have at least one working adult. So this goes to show that, most people are working and they are really trying hard to make a living and be able to provide for their families. And then of those who do not work, 62% are disabled. So they don't even really have an option to. 20% of our client households are run by a grandparent, so not the parent. And then 93% of our clients are not homeless. So, all right. And then we have our funding. So unfortunately, my supervisor let me know that she was unable to provide me any specific resources on funding because of a confidentiality agreement. So I had to pull from their website. And I do know that the primary source of funding is from the individual donors. That was confirmed by Mrs. James. And I can speak from personal experience that whenever you go on site, they have these dip jars that you can basically just like insert your card into, and that's all that you have to do. There's not even a button that you have to hit, and it's usually in $10 to $20 increments. So that's how the food bank mainly gets their source of funding. They also have grants, government assistance, organization donations, sponsorships, and then the food bank accepts food and monetary donations. And the food bank also receives a very large contribution from the United States Department of Agriculture. Next up, we have public or private. So the Central Texas Food Bank is owned by its board members, actually, which makes it a private agency, which could be surprising. It was kind of surprising to me just because of the extensive amount of like government assistance that the food bank receives, but officially the food bank is not owned or operated by the government, so it is a private organization. And the food bank also operates as a nonprofit organization, which is really incredible. Any profit made is then reinvested back into the food bank to continue to acquire resources for, future projects. So some of the daily activities that I did, I feel like I covered a lot of bases, or as many as I could. The main thing that I did was food sorting in our warehouse. So we would, whatever the project was that day, we would get our product. We would have a team who would inspect the product and then usually bag it in whatever, like X amount of pounds that needed to be bagged. And we would send it down a conveyor belt, and it would go to a quality control team in which we would then weigh out the product and make sure that it was actually that amount, because we wanted it to be correct for the partner agencies. And then we would distribute that food out to the partner agencies. Or sometimes we would make boxes for immobile seniors or homebound seniors. That was another big one that we did, where we would just verify that each box had the correct amount of food in it and no box was missing any product, so that everybody could receive, what they're entitled to. Another one that I did a few times was painting curbs in our receiving dock, which was actually super important. Seems like kind of a small task, but it is a giant warehouse, and there are a lot of like heavy machinery running through the warehouse at all times, and they're going really fast. And so we need the poles and the metal curbs to be visible so that we don't damage any of the equipment, and then obviously so that nobody gets hurt. Another one was plating food and washing dishes in the kitchen. We would plate food mostly for after school programs. But yeah, that was a big one too. And then mobile food pantries, which was obviously my favorite, which is the photo that I have located underneath. That's an actual photo from one of the Central Texas Food Bank mobile food pantries. And we would kind of have like an assembly line set up, and in which cars would come through. Each person was assigned a specific product, and then it was our job to make sure that that specific product and the correct amount would make it into their cars. And it was a really cool thing to work as a team and watch the community come together. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is partner agencies. So the Central Texas Food Bank has grown exponentially in the amount of time that it's been open. I believe the original start date was 1982, and now has grown to have roughly 260 partner agencies to date. So it extends out pretty far. The one that I want to discuss is Amazon Fresh in our home delivery program. So this program covers Bastrop, Hayes, Travis, and Williamson County. And to qualify for this delivery program, you have to meet all of this criteria. So you have to reside in any one of those counties, be at or below 200% of the federal poverty level, be 60 years or older, or 0 to 17 years of age, be disabled, be a veteran or active military member. You have to have a lack of transportation, have a U.S. phone number, and have a residential mailing address. So while this program is really great, it is still in its infancy, and the way that it's being piloted right now requires all of these like very specific criteria to be met. But as the agency continues to grow, we want to, obviously get more funding with that, and so that we can reach like a bigger demographic. So some of my favorite memories, looks a little funny, but on the left is a Uganda flag, in the middle is a flag of India, and then on the right is some apples, because we were sorting apples at the time. But I actually got to meet two immigrants, a woman from India and a man from Uganda. And for the 3 hours that I was there, we had a super awesome conversation. The woman from India was asking me what I was doing in school. I told her that I wanted to be a therapist. She told me that it was a super neat thing that I actually got to do what I'm passionate about. And I was confused, and I asked her, because she was an engineer, what she meant by that. I was like, did you not want to be an engineer? And she told me that she had always wanted to be a chef, but in India there were only certain positions that are respected, and that public opinion is highly valued. And it just kind of put things into perspective for me. Obviously I think we can all agree that school is really difficult, and it can be a lot, but it's a kind of a beautiful thing that at least I get to do what I love to do. So, and then what did I learn? So I would say that the main thing that I learned was that it is okay to ask for help. I did not judge anybody who showed up to any food pantry, definitely, for requiring any assistance. And I've always kind of been like a suffer in silence type rather than reaching out and asking for help. But what this semester has really taught me is that each project that we did required a team effort. There was always, there was not one thing that I did that was solely by myself. And I just really got to learn that because of organizations like the Central Texas Food Bank, and then like the ones that I've been reading from all of the discussion posts, really nobody has to do this alone. And there is no shame in asking for help from anybody. All right, thank you guys so much for watching my presentation.